And we're back to continue everybody's favorite cycle of Magic videos on the internet, and the most important ones to fill out your Commander 60 card, maybe even your limited deck if they happen to have these, or maybe you bring them with you to draft night or pre-release. But yes, just like the previous one, this video is about land, or the subject is land. There we go, got it right the second time. Either way, we're here to talk about basic islands and the top 10 islands of all time. Again, looking kind of more all-purpose. Obviously, if you were to have a specific theme of deck, like say you're building an Edge of Eternities deck, then maybe some more spacey ones, and we do have one of those in here, but maybe some more spacey ones would obviously be towards the top. These ones, though, just all-purpose standalone, the best 10 arts on islands, basic islands, ever printed. Now, a quick disclaimer, the previous one of this, the Plains video I did do that before they released the art, or we saw what the art of the basic lands looked like for Edge of Eternities. Even still, the full art one would be the one that would maybe make a dent into that top 10, but I don't know that it was quite there for me. And as we'll see, I kind of have a similar feeling about islands. But we'll start at number 10, where, what can I say, I like dinosaurs. My favorite commander deck is a dinosaur deck. So, gotta go with the Jurassic Park land, the Svetlin Velinov, the REX-22, the set of Jurassic Park cards. I don't know. I mean, obviously, the best part of this one is just the T-Rex skull there right in the front, but there's also, you got the little submarine, and then, as every Star Wars fan loves the quote, there's always a bigger fish, and while there's kind of only one fish in this particular image, well, yeah, you gotta look behind you, and it looks like these guys are gonna turn into a snack, even though they got to get one last look at a cool T-Rex skull at the bottom of the ocean. Really, the biggest problem that I have with this particular land, other than it goes pretty specifically with dinosaurs, and that is kind of part of the main point, is that it is in blue, and, well, the best dinosaur decks are Naya. I mean, maybe not the best. You could always have the Indominus Rex Voltron type deck, but generally speaking, if you're playing Dinosaur Tribal in Commander, or I suppose if you were going to play it anywhere else, you're probably playing some combination of the Naya colors, green, red, or white. So blue doesn't always make its way in there, but if it does, this is a land you absolutely have to include, and just by standalone, again, because I do kind of just think dinosaurs are cool, and the weird, I don't know, it's probably only in my head, but that it's always a bigger fish reference to Star Wars helps a little bit as well. So a fun one there at number 10. A couple of the honorable mentions, depending on what day you ask me, might be in the 10 spot, but for right now, we're sticking with this one. Moving on, though, to number 9, and a card from at least for me, quite forgotten set. It is coming from the Assassin's Creed set. It's the Ship Island. Actually, one other thing I forgot to mention about the previous one at number 10, it does also come with a flip side, if I'm not mistaken. It has another land on the flip side, so if you happen to like that one better, then awesome, you get 2 for the price of 1, but we'll stick with that specific side of it. Anyway, at number 9, we have Alexandre Honore. I think is how you pronounce it. But from the Assassin's Creed set, yeah, it's the number 103 in Assassin's Creed. The basic island with the ship leaving, well, looks like some kind of little bay or harbor, I don't know, but it's just a nice kind of tropical looking setting, which is nice. And it actually has an island in it, a couple islands. Maybe they're even coming out of a bay that's on an island, so that is nice to actually have an island in the imagery. There's something about just the big old boats that I really like, all the kind of ropes coming off the sails, the giant galley style boat. I played a lot of Age of Empires 2 back in the day, and I would always love to have the biggest navy, and then that didn't always work out, but you got to have a lot of pretty looking boats. Yeah, I don't know, just a very nice image to look at. It does have the little, I don't know what his name is, I wasn't that into Assassin's Creed, but the Assassin's Creed guy kind of hanging out there on the front sail up top, which makes me think a little bit of Jack Sparrow at the start of the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, obviously on a much smaller boat as it's sinking rather than a big boat as it's actually sailing out. But either way, and another weird little reference that triggers in my mind when I look at this, but another really fun art here, and you know, birds for scale always help as well. And actually, speaking of birds in the image, though this time they're not so much for scale, they're actually kind of in the foreground, but they still blend into the whole image. It is the John Avon Unstable Land, the full art island. I think as far as the frames of the cards go, and who knows, maybe at some point I'll do a top 10 of the best frames ever done, specialty frames or whatever, or maybe tier list or something, but the frames for this cycle of lands also help them out quite a bit. They just, I think, did a very good job of balancing having still the classic look of island up at the top, and then actually having a lot of space for the image and not having the, you know, the background, which is still kind of a little bit darker up there, just blend in with it so it doesn't detract from the image itself. But yeah, these are just, it's an absolutely incredible cycle. And while the island is certainly not my favorite from the cycle, in fact, I probably put it either third or fourth. It's actually probably fourth or fifth. I'd probably put it fourth or fifth in that cycle. It's still absolutely fantastic. Again, an actual island in the image, and yeah, I do like birds, so I've seen some birds fly over the ocean, some maybe seagulls, or who knows, maybe something more exciting than a seagull. But yeah, it's just hard to go wrong with John Avon, and hard to go wrong with this cycle. And since the islands didn't necessarily have a ton of absolute standouts like we might see with the next one, this one is a hard one to not include. It fits the blue of the island very well and has an island in it, so it fits everything as far as what you'd want from a baseline blue island. That is, I suppose, unless you're looking for a snow land. And if you remember from the plains part of this cycle of videos, I am a sucker for snow lands. We'll see a lot of them on these lists. And this is the first of only a couple of the islands we're going to see. Understandably, islands are a little bit harder to make a snow art for, but in this case they do a fantastic job. And by they, in this case, I mean Franz Vohwinkel. Hopefully, again, I'm pronouncing that right. Not all these names are super easy for my English mind to wrap itself around, but either way, another fantastic land. This one, I think, really gets the vibe of what a snowy island might look like. In this case, maybe more of a glacier or like part of Antarctica or something. No, again, it's Magic, so we're talking about some fantasy world, but something like Antarctica. You got a big ice sheet there that's got a big ice cliff. Maybe there's even like some people kind of right up at the peak of that ice cliff looking over the water with a bunch of icebergs in it. So you got everything you need from a snow island. Again, very blue heavy in the theme. There's also a little bird there kind of hanging out by the top of that cliff, flying in front. You got the blizzard with the snow. So it's obviously, it really does give you some very cold vibes. So as far as a snowy island goes, I think this is almost as good as you can get, and it does help. I mean, this art was not originally done in this frame, but I have to say that I think the Mystery Booster 2 white bordered version of, they did, I think, one of each of the snow lands in this white border, and if you're going to get a snow land and you can get it in white border, you probably should. I mean, if there's ever a white border card, I think a snow card is probably the one to get. Now, with that said, personally, I don't mind white border cards, but I know it's not everybody's favorite. Still, again, if you're going to go with some white borders, I think it's hard to deny that snow lands are a good way to go. And this isn't the first one of this cycle that I think, if I'm not mistaken, was originally printed in Cold Snap, so it's pretty old. It's not the first one of this cycle in this white border treatment that we'll see in this cycle of videos, but it is the first one on this list that is, and kind of the one drawback is that it is only kind of the half, the cropped image before they started doing full art cards. Still, while full art does help an art quite a bit, being able to see more of it and see it more blown up and up close, it, I think, is still hard to deny that this is one of the best, even in a smaller frame. Though again, even there, it does help to some degree anyway, and maybe a fair amount, that in this particular treatment, not the original one, but in this particular treatment, they did go with the, what would be the text box, but where they have the island symbol, that kind of frosty, snowy version of the basic island text box that I think came from Kaldheim originally, and then they've kind of just done that whenever they have the text box on a snowland since. And obviously the mixture of that snowy looking text box island and then the white border definitely adds to the snow covered island of this card. So I'll stop rambling about number 7 here and move on to number 6, which is where we get from Adam Piquet, one of those, and actually the only one on this list that does fit more the type of card you would see from Edge of Eternity's deck, or an Edge of Eternity's deck if you're going with the Counterintelligence Commander deck. Maybe you're throwing this in there as a way to spice up the basic lands there. It is from Unfinity, the, again, more cartoony side of it, but the kind of cartoony island, the one with the big, it's like almost a nod to, it's almost a nod to the big bucket lands that people really liked from one of the Zendikar sets. We got the water kind of flowing out of the buckets of whatever kind of mountainous alien structure that is. It looks like it's a natural structure of some kind that's just been eroded over time, but yeah, it's just a really, really cool island. You got some alien flora and stuff in the front there, maybe some, you know, definitely some lakes and rivers and whatnot, so maybe an island of some kind. And yeah, again, with the, I don't know if they're giant geysers, maybe these are just big geysers coming off the planet. It's probably what makes the most sense. The first few times I saw it, I thought they were like the rings of the planet, but you can even kind of see in the middle, top middle of it, the sort of the shadow being cast on what, yeah, probably is a geyser by that mountain. So I don't know that it makes a lot of sense for these to be the rings of the planet. The more I look at it, the more it's obvious that they're geysers, but either way, the big geysers coming out of there, comically large geysers, but again, an alien planet, so why not? And yeah, it's very sci-fi, which personally I tend to prefer sci-fi over fantasy, but Magic is such a great game that I stick with it anyway, and obviously Edge of Eternities is right up my alley in that way. And again, this is very much a cycle of lands that if you are going to play a lot of Edge of Eternities themed in your commander deck, or whatever deck you're going to play, you'll probably even see people taking these to draft or pre-release, but this cycle of lands and the other cycle that came with it in Unfinity are perfect for this Edge of Eternities set. And while I will say that I was not necessarily a huge fan of the kind of the atom, the rings to make it look like a molecule, or like the atoms going around the center there for the mana symbol at the bottom, it has grown on me over time and I think fits the cards very well. Really the only thing that I would change would maybe be the island text box, little text bar at the top. Again, we saw from Unstable what they were able to do to make that not quite as jarring and interrupting of the image. So, you know, if they do more of this style of full art and are going to have the name of whatever land at the top, maybe just stick with that Unfinity style. It doesn't really take away from it, and you still get island at the top, which, as we've now seen from the full art lands of Edge of Eternities itself, maybe they're just leaning away from having the name of whatever it is at the top altogether, since that one they just went with full on the art with the little bottom black bar to have the artist and the mana symbol, and that's it. Yeah, I think they work pretty well, and this one is a good island. But moving on, we'll go to number 5, halfway through the list, and this is the first time we get to see another cycle that I like quite a bit, and a pretty expensive cycle if you want to try and buy a few of them. But if you just want to buy one, you eat a few dollars for a basic land. It is Ben Schnuck. Ben Schnuck, we'll go with Ben Schnuck. His 80s Tron land, they're probably called the Tron lands. I don't know if they actually have a name, but yeah, these are some pretty fun lands with the very Tron gridded, textured gridded theme. Very 80s video game kind of style with the sun in the background, the kind of, in this case, not neon, but the blue to purple pastel colors, which does kind of make it look at a glance. If you just looked at the top half, you could maybe be convinced that this was a swamp, but again, they're rock cliff islands, not too dissimilar from the same style of island that we would have seen in that John Avon land, though this time much more a, not really sci-fi fantasy, but I suppose in some way that way. Certainly a more digital, not really fantasy, but yeah, a more digital computerized type of artwork here. Personally, I really like this cycle, some more than others. The forest is, I don't know what you would have done with a forest, but some of them are definitely better than others. This one I do think is one of the better ones in this cycle, and certainly as far as islands altogether. I also do like that the island word, they don't even have a mana symbol on it, which maybe found a fun way to fit a mana symbol in here, but at least the word island at the bottom is, you know, put in the style of the card. It doesn't detract from the art at all. There isn't just like a, you know, the text that Magic uses, island, in a little text box at the top. it blends in with the card, so you still can see that it's clearly an island, and it kind of adds to the art, if anything. Now, I suppose, again, with this particular island, this artwork, and really all the ones in this cycle, if you are trying to specifically keep even your basic lands on theme for whatever your deck is, if it has a very specific theme that comes across in the artwork, and again, with Magic being much more lean to fantasy, the applications theme-wise for this card might be a little bit harder to find. You're probably sticking again with more the sci-fi side of things rather than fantasy. Maybe you're going for more of a like robot type of theme, which again, just it's fresh of mind, but okay, we'll go with like maybe more a Fallout style deck, or maybe a Doctor Who, but again, Edge of Eternities lends itself to this way, again, with this being an island, the counterintelligence, one of the precons, or, you know, deck you build with any of the commanders, possible commanders from the set. If you are trying to theme with this one, it's probably limited to more sci-fi, but I think you can probably find some other fun ways to fit it in. And if you don't care about theme, then again, this is a land that has a fantastic cycle. So even if you're in a multicolor deck and you want to stick with all cards from the same cycle, you're not going to be punished too much with this, unless, again, maybe if you're playing Simic, the Forest I don't think is particularly strong from this cycle, but the rest of them are pretty good. But moving on from a digitalized, Tron-y looking 80s version of a John Avon full art land, we'll move into a different John Avon full art land in the Unhinged set. I'm pretty sure it's Unhinged. John Avon's island from the original John Avon full art land set. And this one, again, it's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward, but it's still fantastic. It's the classic island. It's hard to even tell if it's a tropic island. It looks kind of more like a temperate island that you might find off the coast of somewhere in the Northwest, or I don't know, maybe like off the coast of maybe Northern Europe as well, but a nice forested island there. Again, really not a ton to say about this art here at number 4, but to me it is absolutely one of the best island arts ever made. It's like very straightforward to the point. There's even 2 islands, at least in this image. It's also just an absolute classic. This cycle kind of started the whole full art thing, if I'm not mistaken, and while I don't know that all of them have necessarily held up, I mean, John Avon is my favorite Magic artist. I think I mentioned that in the previous one with the Plains, and I'll probably mention it again at some point. I almost certainly will in the Swamps, as we'll get to, but while he is my favorite artist, I don't know that all the lands in this particular cycle held up to be one of the best. In fact, this might be the only one of this cycle that I have in one of these lists. There might be one other one. Even still, they are undoubtedly classics. And actually, I do think there's at least one more that will show up. Either way, undoubtedly, these are absolute classics of lands. And yeah, they still would figure out better frames as we went on. But this, if you're going to go from the cropped frame to full frame, this would make sense that this is the first way that they frame it, just basically extending the picture box and still keeping that kind of rocky brown texture around the outside to indicate that it's a land. But even if you don't like that, and even if there are better full art frames that they would make throughout the many, many years following when this was originally printed in 2004, I still think it's pretty hard to argue that this isn't one of the best island arts of all time. But don't worry, if you do want to argue with my picks on this list, maybe even all of them to some extent, heck, maybe you've already been arguing with me down in the comment section below to this point, then I think my pick at number 3 might be a little bit out there. Maybe not quite as much as my pick at number 1. I do think my first pick, like I said, is going to be somewhat controversial, but at number 3, I have another cropped art land, and again, it does come in here at number 3 because of how much I do enjoy snowlands, and while, again, island is maybe not the easiest to come up with a good snowy art for, they do a fantastic job here. Now, the part of it that I really enjoy is more the forests along the side of the island in the middle of the image, or kind of off to the left of the middle of the image, but at least there is an island on here. There's a nice, looks like a mountain lake, and some, snowy pine trees around the outside, some snow on the banks there. I absolutely love this land. Another one of the Elena Danner cycle of basic lands. Again, I think this was printed before they had done... Actually, maybe this wasn't printed before Kaldheim. This looks like 2019 is when this cycle came out. So I don't know why they decided not to go with the, again, kind of snowy version of the text box for a Snowland. I think that would have made it a little bit better, but aside from that, I don't really have any complaints other than maybe I would have liked to see this in a full art type of frame. Just, obviously if it was painted on your more typical picture size canvas, then you'd have to stretch it and you'd probably lose the forests on the side. So I wouldn't like that, but a full art version of this art just extended down would, full art is a little bit better usually for basics than non, but this is one of the 3 that we'll have on this top 10 that is good enough to, even in a cropped smaller image, easily, in my opinion, make it onto this list and make it all the way up here into the 3rd spot. And as we move on to number 2 on the list, we're going to continue with the theme of potentially controversial picks and also secret layer drops, though this one is a full art. It's the Roberto Gatto land from 2022. I think the secret layer drop was a nod to, or maybe even direct reference to, Fortnite, if I'm not mistaken, which, believe me, is not why I'm picking this. I never really got much into Fortnite. I mean, I do kind of like the Battle Royale style of games, but the whole building part of it was just a step too far. It was a little too cartoony for me. I always liked PUBG a little bit better, but anyway, I digress from that point. Why, or the theme of this, or why it came about, is not why I like it. I love the shark mouth, the like rock island shark rock thing. I mean, obviously that you'd never see that as a natural formation. I think there's like a cliff somewhere in like Spain that looks like an elephant. So it's an animal that you can more easily end up with a natural look from a cliff. But yeah, obviously a shark is a more fun cliff and cave structure here as the land gets started. Still, there's something about it that just kind of, maybe it's the palm trees. You got kind of a boat shipwrecked up there. It's just kind of peaceful theme aside from the shark cave cliff thing, but that does add a lot to it. You got the mountains in the background as well. Maybe it's the kind of more teal tropical color of the water as well, but I really like this art. It's pretty simple, straightforward. If it was Fortnite, if I was right about that's where this came from, it doesn't come off as overtly that way. It's just a cool shark cliff formation on an island in the middle of a tropical water. And yeah, I don't know how easy it is to defend as the 2nd best island of all time, but as I was putting it together and looking through every basic island ever made, this is what ended up at number 2. Moving on though to number 1, and in my opinion, the best island ever printed by a wide margin. And I understand this will probably be a bit of a hot take, especially considering it is a cropped, normal bordered land. It's not a full art. Got the whole blank text box with the blue mana symbol down there. But it is still from Kaldheim. Johannes Voss, or maybe it's Johannes, I think it's Johannes Voss. His art from Kaldheim with the northern lights, the aurora going over the island with a little kind of Norwegian looking building there on it, silhouetted with the northern lights in the background. You also have, I think, the world tree kind of coming up behind the northern lights. But even if you were to kind of ignore the northern, heck, even if that, or not the northern lights, if you were to kind of ignore the world tree there, which, it is a nod to that set, and I personally like that it's there. But if that weren't there, it also is just like in something you could see up in, Northern Europe, Norway, Sweden, probably more Norway with the fjords, but which, for what it's worth, it does kind of get back to my personal heritage. So that's part of it, but I just love the art of Kaldheim. And while this isn't a snowland, and maybe if you had a little snow dusting here and there on it, I don't know, maybe that ends up taking away from it. It would be hard to get it with the silhouette. So maybe they did well to not have this, try and put the snow in it, have it as one of the snowlands. But yeah, this is just one of my absolute favorite Magic arts of all time. If I do eventually do just, once I get done with this cycle, do favorite basic land arts, this will certainly be on the list and towards the top of it. So spoiler alert, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, it's an art that I like so much that I've gone out of my way to buy a handful of foil copies of. Now, fortunately, it was a standard set, basic, non-full art land, so you can pick foil versions up for just a few cents. And that is, definitely handy for someone that loves it this much, that I can get the foil version, which looks fantastic, by the way. Just makes those northern lights, the aurora, pop even more in the image. Heck, I like this art so much that if you watched my first video, the unboxing of the Tarkir collector set, you'll notice that the playmat that I use is this art. It's one of my favorite playmats. I mean, I don't really get a playmat unless I just absolutely love the art on it. I only have 3 playmats aside from one that I got as a free giveaway that, you know, the art's nothing. It's just a Card Kingdom playmat. But the 3 that I have, I absolutely love the art of, and this is, yeah, one of my favorite arts of all time. We'll get to where it falls on all-time basic lands. I don't think it's going to be number 1, but it's right up there, and certainly, like I said, the best island of all time. The pine trees on that island, the little Norwegian, we'll go with Norwegian building, Scandinavian building silhouetted by the northern lights, and the kind of calm, glassy water reflecting all of it back. It's, I don't know, no notes. Again, maybe the only note is I wish that somehow this could have been extended into a full art, or maybe a little dusting of snow here and there, just to, it doesn't even have to be a snowland, just get the dusting of snow for that full Nordic theme of it. But yeah, just absolutely love this island and the art. Yeah, I'd even hang it on my wall. Shoot, I don't know if my wife would be okay with that, but I would absolutely get a print of this and hang it on a wall somewhere. With that though, and what is again the unquestionably uncontested best island art of all time, I'd love to know your thoughts down in the comment section below if you haven't already given them. And yes, to be clear, I am going with the entire look of the card, so I'm saying that this art is good enough even to carry it past the fact that it just has the basic border and it's not the full art. This is, I'm not like just saying that, oh yeah, this is the best given that it is constrained by, nope, even including the frame, this is the best island of all time in my opinion. So yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments section below if you haven't already. And until next time, we're good to each other. God bless, make someone's day magical, and I'll see you next time.